Out the back door.
Oh, it's a bonus one, this one. Winner Teddy. Hi folks, today's video we are tackling the last few bits of the roof. Chimneys, ridge tiles, flues, jackdoors. There's lots going on, lots of final things to tick off the list. But first up, we had to sort out the chimneys. So really we could have overhauled the whole thing and got more scaffolding around it and really gone to town on it. But in the end, we had to make sensible repairs where needed, but the main priorities was to sort out the openings and the flues. So this central flue here, you can see there's a liner in there. That was to serve the old biomass boiler. That has gone now. So the first job was to get that out. It made sense to remove that liner and see if we could repurpose it. What that then left is a bit of cleaning up to do. But first up, let's get that liner pulled out. Right, so that's the range out of the way. Now comes the harder bit.
Oh, so much stuff falling on my head. Oh god. Time for a hard hat. Right, well that is challenge one done. We're cut through, but it's really quite filthy inside the flue at the moment. So I'm going to see if I can put a bag over the end. Oh. Oh. I'm trying to direct it out the back door.
Well, we can deal with that another day, but it's out. Right, now it's back to the top and we've got two flues to clear out, which is where the jackdaws have been just chucking every single thing they can get their dirty little beaks on down the chimneys. And in the case of this flue that I'm clearing out here, we cleared out 3 rubbish sacks full of basically mud, like stones, twigs, branches, carpet. You wouldn't believe the stuff that was down there, but anyway. Here's a look at how that went. Oh, it's a bonus one, this one. Winner Teddy. Sorry. When I dropped my GoPro down the chimney. Oh, big one, big one. Could be my PB. Alright, Will, can I have one more go with the flue screw? I'll do one corkscrew, one steel, and then I think we're done. Just about. Oh, I think we're through. The things we do to prepare for Father Christmas. So there was actually enough mud and rubbish down there that it was leaching through and staining the white stonework. on that top floor on the inside room, so it had to come out. It couldn't go down. We couldn't just bash it down and then sweep it out the bottom, because they're just vents in bedrooms. We couldn't sweep it from the bottom with a power sweep or anything like that, so it had to come out the top. I didn't have a 4-inch hose long enough to use a larger vac, so it was just a case of little by little, bit by bit, getting it cleared out. So if you remember way back on day 1 or day 2, back when it was warm in the middle of summer, or autumn at least, we took these off. These are the original Victorian clay ridge tiles off the top of the roof, and we've given them a good clean up, and now they're going back on. And we did the cleaning in a few stages, but we used some of that chlorine, sort of basically bleached them to scrub back and get rid of some of the black spots and marks that are on them, and then gave them a final scrub back this morning as well. We're just making sure there's no little bits of mortar that are stuck on them, which are going to get in the way of the new stuff. Now I've got about half of them on so far, Will's here, and it's really helpful to have 2 people, 1 person to run a tile up at a time. These ones are pretty awkward, you can't stack them up there ready. It's one at a time really. So here you can see they're all roughly where they need to be. We're just eyeballing it because each one of these is ever so slightly different, so you can't really run a string line. So when you're sat on the end of the ridge, you can basically sight down them and get them as straight as possible. Now one of my main concerns was going to be staining the slates with the mortar, and I've had a few runs, so basically just little balls of mortar run down the slate and leave a little white trail. So I've been sponging that off as quick as I can, and hopefully they're not going to be hanging around and making a mess of our roof. So the way that these tend to be bedded onto slate is the sausage of mortar is set a little bit higher than the bottom of the ridge tile, so you don't see that. So there was a bit of cleanup to make sure none of that was visible, trying to tidy up my joints as I went, but because I didn't want any marks left up there, and because there was going to be marks on the tiles from where I'd handled them and bits and bobs, it was then a case of going up and down the ladder for a good hour or so, soapy water, hose, and just basically cleaning by hand the whole roof, just to avoid any risk of long-term staining, which I'm sure wouldn't have happened, but I just had to put my mind to rest. Now the next challenge was to replace the half tiles that sat either side on the outside of the chimneys, because they no longer reach the edge of the roof. Now we've changed things around a little bit with the barge boards, so we had to go ridge tile hunting. So the first outing I took me to Flue reclamation, which we use quite often, and there I was able to find something which was very, very similar. So I thought. On closer inspection, they were actually the wrong pitch, so I had to go back the following week and managed to find something a bit better. Found anything?
Those ones that they're not at all.
They're 5 points.
Oh yeah.
In the end we came away with something which was just about right. It isn't sitting directly next to the old ones, but it is the right pitch, and it is the same kind of tooth on the top there. It's ever so slightly different, but it was good enough for me. Good morning. Is this the last day on the roof? I don't know, but we're close. It was windy last night. Oh dear. Alright, as you may be able to tell by my attire today, it's Christmas Eve. Fear not, the family are in bed still. I'm going to come up here, hopefully get some of the last snags done and the last coat of paint, because it's dry for 2 days now, so they tell me. They're fighters, I'll give them that. Come on. So just in time, the very next job was to cap off the chimneys. Now the chimneys on this house have never had chimney pots, and although aesthetically it might look quite nice, there was no real need for them up there, and every pot would have had to have a cowl on top of it anyway. So I wanted to make sure I had just a decent flaunched cap top, but well vented. Right, well, that's going to be done for the pre-Christmas rush. I've managed to get the far gable end finished and painted, and the top of this stack is now capped off. I'll film the other end when I come to do it, but this end, all 3 chimneys have now a vent pipe and capped off with mortar. But that's it for now. Merry Christmas, see you in 10 seconds. Right, Christmas over, back on the roof for the very last day. Will's here to give me a hand for the very final push to get the last chimney done and a good tidy up, and then finally painting the last barge board on this west wall. I've gone for a 3-to-1 pretty strong mix with 2 sharp sand, 1 building sand and cement, and all I've added in is a bit of SPR as well. This is a fairly firm mix. We don't want too much water in there at all, especially with the risk of frost, so we'll be wrapping everything up in Hessian later anyway. So the slate is going to cap over our square opening at the top of the chimney, and you see I've cut this notch out. What I don't want is lots of visible vents. Some people use a ridge tile. I did that last time and it still created enough space for birds to get in. So all I've done, we don't need a huge amount of airflow there. It's notched out the top of this. And then I ripped down a bit of old downpipe. By the time the pipe sits over there, the whole thing will be capped and flaunched over. We end up with a fairly decent sized sort of 2-inch square hole there to keep the airflow from down in the rooms up to the top. Now of course there's part of me which thinks maybe I should have put scaffolding all the way around each of the stacks, rebuilt them, repointed them and done all sorts of repairs and restoration work, but at the end of the day I'm not sure I could have faced much longer up on that roof. I was absolutely exhausted mentally and physically, and I did the repairs that were needed. We tidied everything up, and by capping over the top we know that we're weatherproof, bird-proof, yet we're still giving good ventilation to the flues. So with that in mind, this is how we're looking. This is my last day on the roof before the scaffolding came down. So there's still the video to cover with all the guttering and the downpipes that I fitted, but for now that's going to be it for the roof, and until we've got our finished lovely shots of it done with nice blue skies, we're going to park this project here. I will try and put together in the coming weeks a full start to finish documentary of the roofing project, but there we go. Let's jump back onto our workshop project and get some timber framing done. Thank you for watching, and remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.